or a critical point. Babaji calls once you reach that critical point or that egregore moment, it starts changing things. Same thing is in faction or any negative thing. And so are also with positive things. When we remain prayerful and another person also starts praying and this, echoing of prayers, echoing of good qualities in others will also make a difference in the world. So we should not give up just because we are seeing so much of negatives physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There is pollution of all kinds everywhere. But I think we should stay focused with our own inner purity. And one of the most beautiful messages that a great person like Babuji could give to us before he departed, that it is this purity which matters, nothing else matters. Purity, purity, and purity all along will design our destiny. I recall my days studying pharmacy. One of our professor used to insist, get it in your head, he would say, that water and oil cannot mix. They can never mix. If at all they mix, after some time, they'll form droplets and separate out from each other. Just a matter of time. So if we have not really arrived at the refined level of purity, utmost purity, akin to whatever your goal is, can you imagine for a moment what we would like to see ourselves as a year from now, or imagine that I am breathing my last. How would I present myself to God or to my master? How do I say hello to Babuji Maharaj? In IT, they come up with so many versions. Apple or iOS version 12, iOS version 14. Certain applications will not work on iOS version 9. So our ultimate version, what I would like to see as Kamlesh dot 500, my ultimate form, ultimate inner being. Is it matching with my present state of being? If not, what changes do I need to make in myself so that it can come a little closer to the version I am dreaming of? So I have to imagine in my own mind when I meditate or when I'm spending some quiet time, I need to think, what do I need to become? How do I like to see myself as? If you think that Babuji's personality, the being of such a great man, or Lord Jesus, or Lord Krishna, try to understand those personalities from that essence point of view, the qualitative point of view, and see how we all can change qualitatively. See? It is not first time that we are witnessing such infectious disease. Many encounters we as humans have noticed, witnessed, or heard. And this will go on. This is not the last one. There will be many of this. Should we be afraid of it? Why should we? Something that is going to happen will happen, continue to happen. But what is my duty to myself? How can I protect myself? That's all. That is within my control. That is within our control to a larger extent. How we can socially distance ourselves without emotionally distancing ourselves from others. In fact, socially distancing ourselves will increase our emotional bonds. When you say, Papa, I'm unable to come, or you are in a different country and your parents are somewhere, your spouse is somewhere, your children are somewhere, they have always been like this. Our lifestyle has always been like this, distances. But all of a sudden, when somebody says you must socially distance yourself, then we start worrying and we start blaming the system or the enforcer, which is not nice actually. We have to obey, we have to find some discipline. It's like this discipline of simple traffic lights. If you go on your way, oh, I'm not going to obey the red light, then you are in trouble. When they say the city is closed, it will remain open only for the most essential. We should respect that decision without saying you are infringing on my freedom. And that is one of the reasons why I presume, maybe I'm wrong, in certain countries, the disease has spread faster than China. China is able to enforce a certain level of discipline. People are trained. If the authority says don't do this, nobody would dare to oppose them. That's why they are able to curtail it. But in some other countries, they say, oh, what is the use of Allah? What is the use of God? They are there to protect me. I am going to do my worship. I'm going to do my satsangs. I'm going to assemble in temples. No, this is not right. Oh, my master will protect me. No, this is not right. Protection that comes from master is different. We need to first obey what has been instructed. There are social norms, there are country norms, there are spiritual norms. Master enforces and like to see, he recommends only, he doesn't enforce anything. He recommends that please do this. If you do this, our journey will be smoother. That's all there is to it. Corona, it is dangerous. People think it creates flu-like syndrome. Yes, it does create flu-like syndrome, but it is not only flu-like syndrome. It does create something more than that. No flu will damage your pancreas. No flu symptom will damage your liver, or no flus will damage your digestive system. No flu will go to the extent of creating lung damage to such an extent that corona is able to do. You feel at times when it is worse, you feel as if you are drowning in water because there is so much of fluid retention in your lungs, you can't bear it. In fact, in Italy, they had to make decisions when there are 4 people waiting for a ventilator to breathe. They have to choose who needs the most. There's so much of shortage of ventilators. Well, my purpose is not to scare you, but at least bring the reality in front of your eyes, and you're not children to get scared of. And if you're getting scared of, then it has served my purpose. Please look after yourself, distance yourself as much as possible. Remain in your house, don't run around. This is also a time for dopamine fasting or regular fasting. Try to extend your grocery as much as possible. Who knows, if this continues for a month or 2 months and grocery stores are not so open and their grocery stores may not have so much of supplies running all through. So start, I think, saving to a large extent as much as possible. So, if you have any specific questions, Kanan Bhai, then we can attend to them.
We have received quite a few questions, Daaji, and I have tried to simplify. And there is one question from a 6-year-old
Uh,
Why is coronavirus affecting only humans? Is there a
well, birds may be dying quietly, but we wouldn't know. Birds wouldn't, who would? Many humans are also infected without knowing they're infected. We don't see how many birds have died because of this in the first region of Wuhan, where it got infected. Yesterday, I received one video related to Wuhan. The Wuhan is the first city in the world to receive 5G.
yes,
Entire city was covered by this 5G, now what we call bandwidth.
right, right.
And that particular YouTube video was trying to say that this is all due to impact that it creates on our electromagnetic field. Ever since electricity was implemented, a lot of problems have started, which humans did not see earlier. Little by little, all these technological advancements are happening. Then came radio waves, then came TV waves, and now we are flooded with TV waves, radio waves, Wi-Fi's, so many other things. We don't know the implications of it. If you remember, somewhere Babuji has stated, this era, this period of electricity must end. And if you see everything that is depending on electricity creates this field. I don't mean to discourage you in some way that to go back into the old days of lanterns and kerosene, etc., etc., but minimize the dependency on this as much as possible. I like our Kini Saab. See, he's sitting in a dark room, not much of a light around him. Ravi, not Ravindra, Narendra, Naren,
Naren Kini.
yes. There are many implications of all these things, and we don't know how many birds are affected because we don't measure this corona virus or diagnose corona present in animals. So it is futile to blame animals for spreading disease. Someone said it was in the bats first, and then it came to another animal, and that was consumed by some Chinese, and that gave way to from the wet markets to the human beings, and from there it all started. Yes, the epicenter is Wuhan. Also need to reconsider our. I don't blame or I don't say that it is this 5G, but in Northern Europe it has been observed, especially countries like Norway, Finland, where they noticed that 5G has killed so many birds. And this experiment which our children have done, not only at Kanha or our school here in Omega or in Heartfulness Education School here, Heartfulness Learning Center. And many schools I have requested them, wherever we have our Heartfulness classes, many schools in Pune, Bombay, Varanasi, Delhi, they do this experiment on moon sprouts, how the phone effect, how the Bluetooth effect, how the Wi-Fi effect uh, controls or affects the sprout growth of moong dal, and how while keeping this petri dish of moong growing um, is further enhanced in a positive way if you keep that petri dish which grows this moong dal in a meditation room. The growth becomes faster. Growth is also lush green and dense. While when you are growing the same moong dal in in a Bluetooth environment or Wi-Fi environment, it becomes yellower and growth is stunted also. So it does affect our growth. Recently, not recently, but I would say 3, 4 months back, I was in Kerala, and there I visited one research lab. And this research lab is a startup or a hobby, you can say, of two guys who retired from Apple. They were working once upon a time with Steve Jobs and finally making billions. They have retired and settled down in India. They have some research project going on. And there they invited us. One of the finding they were experimenting was how red blood cells uh, they form, like certain diseases will prompt RBCs to behave, red blood cells to behave and form a kind of a colony, or it will form a Rolex type of a structure, or they'll get scattered in certain way, forming a different type of shapes. So it was quite interesting. So while this experiment was going on, I had this idea that while you are watching this under the microscope, and the image of these red blood cells is being transferred on a computer screen. I told them, since you already have my blood sample, let us see the impact of phone with the Bluetooth on and see how WBC behaves, how our white blood cell behaves. Now, since my blood sample was already taken almost 10 minutes before, by the time I requested for this experiment, they were already settling down, almost dying out, you can say. Their WBCs were just settled. They were not moving at all. They were just static. Moment the lab technician, put the phone near the microscope, these WBCs came to life and started moving very fast. Their walls were moving extremely fast. What does this say to you? They perceived the presence of phone with Bluetooth on as a threat to the organism they are serving. That means the organism is us. Yes, the WBCs are serving us as a human system. They feel that human system is being threatened, so they become active to defend the system. Now imagine if the same WBC was in our blood while moving. See, this was on a microscope slide. What happens to WBCs when they receive the threat, when you're holding your phone in your hand, or when it is in your front pocket or in your jacket pocket, or very close to your body, or some people having a phone under the pillow or just by the table? It has its impact. WBCs will order more and more WBCs. We have a bigger threat. Let's fight it out. But it's not, when there's a bacteria or virus, they will capture them through this, what we call phagocytic impact. But how are you going to capture electromagnetic field through WBC? Nevertheless, they try to respond to this threat and they move very fast. Imagine what happens to the things inside us which we are not able to see. The subtle changes in the electromagnetic field in our brain, for example. The way the moong dal stunted its growth. What gets stunted in our growth? First of all, my presumption, again, research needs to be done, is it suppresses the immunity. Whenever I used to hold a particular phone, I stopped using phones almost practically to a zero level. I hardly use it. But whenever I used to hold the phone and talk, within 2 minutes, I would start itching here. And this whole itching will begin and it will start itching here. It will go up. And my glands here would swell up. Another impact I noticed, the shoulder. I feel as if somebody has cut off my shoulder if I use it more than half hour at a time. So slowly, through such bad experiences, I learned that it's really not good for me. Some of you may not be feeling such an impact in your system, but that does not mean it is not harming. It certainly does harm, but you're able to tolerate this to a large extent than myself. But why do you want to tolerate? System is rejecting, but we want to go on with it because you have a willpower to get over it and say, okay, let me use the phone. I need it's my prestige. My business depends on it. No, we did business even before we had these mobile phones. World was going on pretty much fine. Anyway, so to answer, I have answered a lot more than our little 6-year-old asked.
So what
Next,
advice, yeah, what advice you have for parents and mothers to be to protect their children under the circumstances? That's also consolidated from several questions, Daji.
well, mothers to be. I think our human system is very intelligent and quite resilient. Maybe the child that you are going to carry later on, perhaps the genetic pattern will be such that mother has been exposed to this devastation and it will adapt itself and the child will not suffer much the way we are suffering. They may get used to this Wi-Fi and they may get used to this Bluetooth, etc. This is also called acquired immunity over a period of time and something that is not within our control. I don't think we should too much worry about it. What can you do with Wi-Fi? Would you stop having children? To me, there is a greater danger, not only because of this corona or this or that, but we have a greater danger as a humanity where negative qualities are proliferating viciously. The hatred is at its, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't say it is at its peak, but it is also building up hatred. Compassion, dislike, grievances, so many things are, affecting us. And if we continue with this, what we call selfishness is growing so rapidly. People have been asking me, to write something or share something about on relationships. But relationship in itself is such a complex thing. You see, I cannot have a special theory for have a great relationship with the spouse, have a special relationship with the children growing, especially today's age, teenage and parents, growing teenagers and children after that. They say it's such a problem. Then colleagues or co-workers in the office, the bossism of your boss, the kind of attitude we have with our subordinates. The, the fundamental, I think, these are, to me, these are only the outcomes or the peripheral manifestation of the damage happening in your inner core. We are not worried about my relationship with myself, my relationship with my higher being or with my God or with my master. Once I'm able to master myself, I'm able to align myself within myself. If I'm able to center myself, if I'm able to take a pause and become quite poised under all situations, while I'm working or at home or while I'm meditating or while I'm driving or while I'm having conversations. This inner relationship that I have within myself, I think it will solve a lot of problems. Principle one is how I look, even at simple things like my glasses, or how I handle this pencil, or how I write in my notebook. With what care I'm holding this notebook, with what care I'm holding this pencil, with what affection I'm picking up this. All this matters. Unfortunately, we have to worry about external things precisely because we have failed in handling ourselves from within our core. That's why Lalaji had to keep on delivering these talks, or what he has written, communication, leading us to proper communions. Proper communication will make you a great leader. If you cannot communicate properly, forget the leadership. I'm talking of those people, those youngsters who are listening to me. If you want to lead, you'll have to have control over your communication, how sweetly, how proficiently, how commanding you are able to converse with confidence. And this can come only when you are very well settled in your heart, being truthful under all circumstances. All this does matter. I think what is corroding us is not coronavirus. To me, if I get coronavirus and I die, of course, it's a big loss. But would I worry? No, I would not worry. Does that mean I will not care for, washing my hands again and again and things of that nature, distancing myself? I do my best as much as possible. I cannot control the unknown factors, but I can control my emotions, my moods, my anger, my levels of hatred towards others. And all this, I think Babuji has put down so brilliantly and gave us these practices. Practices well done will smoothen our lives. I don't think we'll have to go on lecturing people, or you won't have to go on listening to fools like me. Moment you start going inward and practice properly, you will not need external guidance at all whatsoever. Do this with utmost care, with reverence. Take sittings, and if you're a preceptor, engage yourself with a lot of sittings. Give them with a lot of love. Imagine you are receiving sitting directly from Babuji face to face. Imagine the kind of joy you would feel in receiving a sitting, isn't it, John? And that's it. You'll be ecstatic. Wow. Imagine people receiving sitting from you when you are also so joyful like Babuji. Let me give sittings with a lot of joy. And that will change humanity. See, then they will say, wow, there is someone who is always smiling, happy, peaceful, poised, compassionate. We won't have to again, keep on lecturing. Our lifestyle itself will teach them. See. First, to start with, is the way we communicate. Let us not be so flippant. American society, and especially our Indians in America, have become quite flippant. You can easily recognize Indian returning from US and Indian settled here. There's a big difference. Indians coming from United States are very flippant, very easygoing, careless attitude. Though there is a great opportunity, as I said again and again, that Indians, not only Indians, all of Abhyasis in North America I think they have greater potential than anywhere else in the world to progress spiritually. They can make progress extremely fast. This is my personal observation over the years, actually. You have seen me there in United States starting from 81. And it became palpable in many of our sisters and brothers by 90s. I could see the trend, Abhyasis trend growing at a personal level versus the Abhyasis from other parts of the world. I could see the difference. The starting of Yatra was faster. Starting of I would say the progress from regions to region was also faster. Improving of the conditions was also very rapid. It can predictably change the condition of Abhyasis in US. And this is possible, of course. You have to have a good relationship. There has to be a rapport between a preceptor and Abhyasis. So you go to a preceptor and say, oh no, he's not good. He's not giving me a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And John is always criticizing me. Then you cannot progress. John is criticizing you. There is a reason. Reflect. You see, nobody likes to criticize anyone, at least in these modern times. We are very sensitive in not hurting others. Parents are also very sensitive about the emotions of children. Yet, when parents have to remind children, please, that is actually too much. And when preceptor has to advise us, then we feel bad. Oh, why is he always advising me like this? Because the poor fellow is seeing such a thing in you with a lot of pain. It is that compassion in a preceptor that I think comes out in the form of words because they do care. They are not able to see the state in which we are. So they make a comment, one or two, and say, please mend your ways. And when parents also say something to children, it's out of love, out of care. It is not that they are after your life. They are not after your life in correcting you all the time. They also feel pain when you are in pain. So what was the question? I lost the track, my friend.
No, I think you covered a lot of grounds, Daaji, but it started off with mothers to be, and you said how the children might develop immunity for these kinds of things in the future with some genetic changes. And then
So these are all my ideas, and this is not a foolproof, what we call scientific research. So I must say, whatever steps or whatever your doctor is advising you, please follow those guidelines.
Daaji, one person has written that the transmission feels stronger these days, feels like extra protection for all of us.
Well, I'm glad you all feel like that. That is our Master's grace. And more we remain, I think, inwardly in tune, I think more we can benefit. I think the negative environment or the situation we are in at the moment let us turn into something positive for ourselves. How we can devote our time to more practice, more and more going inward and interiorizing. Try to reflect on this, how we can interiorize.
Daaji, there was a question about what can we do from the mission perspective to help Abhyasis that may be in need, and also perhaps some neighbors and communities around us. Should we set up a hotline, have some volunteers to help out? Don't know what is possible, but there was some feeling about this.
Well, it's good to stay in touch with all people we know in the community also. It need not be Abhyasis. You can, if your neighbors are, you are going out to fetch a carton of milk, ask them, do you need some water or carton of milk or juice or fruits or vegetables I'm going to buy? Things like that will go a long way, I think. Helping each other, that instead of they also making trips, one trip should be good enough. Or if you're living in an apartment building, you can make a list within the apartment, take a lead into this, that over the phones, that I'm going for grocery shopping. Anybody needs anything? Of course, this can become a big management issue. If you are good, I mean, try to take care of at least 2-3 people or 2-3 families and see what happens.
Yeah, in our neighborhood, we have some small groups, Daaji. So we can start like that, perhaps.
Well, you did this even when there was no coronavirus. Like we had our Indian grocery stores in New Jersey,
Right.
and from New Jersey to Staten Island, you had to pay a toll, and you had to spend at least 2-3 hours going and coming. So Pankaj Bhai or Parul, whenever they went out,
Yeah.
she would call Pratima and say, "You need anything?" And they'll pick up things and give it. And I think this need not be just during when we have troubles, but it can become a regular affair, helping out each other. And I think it always happens. Like when you're in the office and one of your employees says, I'm going to uh, McDonald's or I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts, do you need something? I would always say, bring me a coffee or French fries.
Right.
And it's fun that way. But I don't know how this will contradict the social distancing. Or you can take the order on the phone and deliver it on the door, but then you have to worry about your money. But so think of those issues, and the other person may not trust you. They might think, what if you have corona? You're trying to do the great thing, but that person may be waiting with a gun on your head. What the hell are you doing? You're coming to my door asking to help me or kill me. So you have to know whom you are asking.
Daaji, you have given quite a few tips to be preventative as well as to increase immunity, like drinking hot water frequently and taking hot shower to raise body temperature, and also drink the giloy juice. So I just wanted to put it out as a reminder to people.
Yes, yes. Well, those are great things actually. There is no real proof of Giloy, but it has been recommended for long, long periods in ancient literature also that Giloy does cure cough and cold type of a situation arising out of such possible infections. Um, Again, I would say I'm not making any claims that Giloy will cure the corona, but it is not going to harm you either because it is like drinking tea. You're boiling this branch of a creeper, or if you are lucky to get some of that powder, boil it in water and drink it. That's all there. I did see though, if you like to see the research paper on Giloy as well as Amla, they had done some experiments on a fly.
Mm.
That fly experiment is very, I mean, it's remarkable. It's not about curing diseases, but it changes the lifespan. It's not about reversal of age, but it is all about extending the age. The flies and some rats who consumed this giloy and amla on a regular basis, their lifespan increased from 44 days to 83 days.
Mm.
It's almost double, especially in a fly. So try to Google and see the research done on giloy as well as this amla. You'll be amazed by the results they have seen. And you can try it also at home. Get some hamsters and feed them giloy and amla and see what happens.
I think it'll be a good project for children, Daji. They have a
Yes,
lot of.
yes, why not? Yes. In fact, in one room they can have hamsters, with giloy and without giloy, and see who outsmarts the other.
Yeah. For those of the audience that don't understand what Giloy means, it's Giloy is the spelling.
Hindi word, yes.
Yeah, but I think if you put Giloy in Google, it comes up with a lot of information.
Same thing with amla, gooseberry. You'll come up with information on that too. And you can say research paper on giloy or research paper on amla. You will be able to see the studies done, scientific studies done on these particularly two items in extending the lifespan of fly and mice.
So, Daji, the schools are out in most of the places, and the children are also socially distanced. So, can they start any spiritual practice early?
Well, I would recommend they can read books and discuss with parents, or uh, they can form a little group of all the youth and read out one page and then discuss things of those things we can encourage people to do. The little ones, I don't think they should attend meditations. Um, I would recommend all our people, these 4 or 5 types of breathing exercise which Ramdev ji recommended. Just do 1 minute of each. Anulom Vilom Vastika, then they do this. I'm not an expert in this, but I did few times and I did find a benefit. I can't do more than 5 minutes. I doing this 4 to 5 different types of pranayams more than impossible. So I do 1 minute each. And then I close my eyes and meditate. It does make a big difference. I again remind you what Babuji had said, in which I read out during the Bandara. It is from the chapter called Realization in the book Reality at Dawn. Babuji says, though we start with dharana, dhyan, and meditation, and samadhi, dhyan. Dhyan is the thing. Out of dhyan, when we arrive at a state of discrimination, when we viveka develops, then I am able to appreciate yama and niyama. What is good for me, what is bad for me, what I should avoid and what I must embrace. Asanas and pranayamas. Asanas means to sit comfortably during meditation. That's all there is to it. Other asanas, okay, for a particular type of symptoms that you have, you can practice 1 or 2 or 3 or asanas based on the guidance you get from your yoga professionals. But this pranayama, breathing exercise, it will help you a lot because it regulates oxygen in the system. Not only oxygen, but when right nostril, left nostril breathing is going on, there will be some stimulus in the right brain and left brain, which you will perceive as you go deeper into this. And when you meditate, you'll be able to see a distinct difference, because you guys have been meditating for 30 years, 40 years, and now including this, and see the difference it can make in your practice. But Babuji did want us to adopt all these features which are there before meditation, but nobody does it. He expected that people will take up all the 5 elements of this Ashtanga Yoga at some point. It's written there in the book. But most of the people, they say, no, you're wasting your time. No, you're not wasting your time. You will shorten the time of meditation actually. Something that you will feel in 1 hour, you will be able to perceive this within 20 minutes and end it. Try it and see what happens.
Thank you, Daji. Are there any changes to our standard practices to suit the current situation?
Not really. Not really.
Okay.
You can become more prayerful so that, and pray that the fear, especially perceptors, can make sankalpas and work, that the panic, the distress, the anxiety people have may go away. But some level of anxiety should remain, otherwise people will start mixing up. You see, social distancing will be forgotten. See. So you should be careful in praying. See.
So there is one question about, would these kinds of prayer slow down master's work?
Nothing will slow down their work. Yes. They are on their trajectory.
Yes. So any tips to prepare ourselves for whatever may be coming in the future, both economically and socially, Daji?
Well, look after yourself, practice well. It will guide you, because each one's situation is different. As I was sharing earlier, how to prepare young ones before entering the marriage. I think these are all useless guidances. If it's not in you, who as an overall person, you cannot compartmentalize that in this relationship I have to attend this class in the morning. For better improving my relation with my boss, I should attend this class tomorrow. Or improving my relationship with my ex-girlfriend, I have to attend that class. No. Focus on the main thing. The guidance of finance related to the health, finance, all this guidance will come from within. And if you are really doubtful, ask the expert about health. You can always consult your doctor. About finance planning also, you can talk to your planners. They can guide you better. But I think this question must have come from an Indian Abhyasi in US, that whether to keep money in US or transfer it to India, is it?
No, Daji, he didn't give the reasons why he's asking the question.
Okay.
But I mean, that's all I have, Daji. The rest of them are so many.
Good. So what time you have now?
It's 10 till 11, Daji. That's 10:50 our time.
Okay. So let's sit for 20 minutes. I'll give you a short sitting. I'll begin now, and I'll also quit the meeting. But you can all either terminate the sitting after 20 minutes, or if your heart feels like continuing, continue.
Okay, Daji.
I'll be done in 20 minutes though. Okay.
Thank you, Daji.
Thank you. And one general advice to all those guys who are having various things they are like to do for heartfulness. Somebody might say, I'd like to start a YouTube channel, or I'd like to do this, or I'd like to conduct a yoga studio. It's okay. You conduct yoga studio, or you start your YouTube things, whatever you like, but give a credit to heartfulness. Have a logo of Heartfulness on the right side of your YouTube channel. But this is not a general permission to all. Just don't start anything and say this is Heartfulness. No, you must take a permission before. But you got to have something of Heartfulness on the screen that it is about Heartfulness. Similarly, if you have a yoga studio, it's a business after all. Yoga studio is a business. When you start a business yoga studio, you're paying rent. Secondly, you're not working elsewhere. So if you have 100 people coming to you, you're charging money for them. That is okay, I have no problem. But when it comes to meditation, tell them this is heartfulness meditation, which is for free. Make it clearer that this is heartfulness meditation and it is for free. Rest of the things I charge myself. Okay. Please start meditation.